The kingdom of Mertana, united by King Robar II. During the long years of his reign, he was able to defeat all foes of his realm. All except one.
Enough! Get me the damn maid! God!
Look, Shula, how you doing?
Against the orcs took its toll, and the prisoners of the realm were to pay the price. The king needed swords for his army, and every man guilty of a crime, no matter how insignificant, was forced to work in the ore mines of Khorinis. To make it impossible for them to escape, the king sent out the best magicians of the kingdom to create a magic barrier around the entire valley. I was one of them. Something disturbed the delicate structure of magic. We were trapped inside our own barrier. During the years, there were many attempts to open the barrier, but nothing worked. Nobody could get out. 1 second of negligence was enough for the prisoners.
Wait a second. We don't have to...
The Valley of Mines was now under the control of the convicts.
We got him by the balls. He has to pay it.
Everyone hit like and subscribe.
The king had no choice. He had to negotiate. He needed the ore. Month after month, the king supplied everything the prisoners needed. Month after month, they brought the ore to the edge of the barrier in exchange. Until the present day, another convict was brought to the cliff. He did not know, but he would change everything.
In the name of King Robar II, bearer of the Scepter of Varant, I sentence this convict to...
Stop!
Hey, Rilo.
Convict, I've got an offer to make you. This letter must reach the leader of the Magicians of Fire.
You're wasting your time.
You may choose your own reward. They will give you anything you ask for.
Very well. I will take your letter. On one condition. Spare me the rest of his nonsense.
How dare you keep silent?
I'm
Right,
I'm
send him
playing
in.
Gothic. We're watching Trump at the fight. We're not watching the fight. We're watching Trump at the fight. You know what I mean? So, I figured Gothic would be the best game to play while watching Trump at the fight. 17 people in chat.
Welcome
please
to
thumbs
the
up.
colony.
I really appreciate it. Hit subscribe.
That's enough.
I'm on my
Leave him
path to
alone.
500 subscribers.
Now scram. Get up.
Okay. I'll
Still
drive
alive?
left.
Good. I'm Diego. I don't care who you are. You're
I hate
green
you
blood,
so
and I'm the
much
guy
right
who takes care of you lot. Let's leave it at that. Now, if you plan on staying alive in here, you should stay and chat with me for a minute so I can show you the ropes. Your choice, though. If you want to run off towards your doom, I ain't gonna stop you. What'll it be?
I'll be going. Thanks for the help.
As you want. It was good knowing you. And one more thing. You can read, can't you? Take these notes. They might just keep you alive.
Damn, Rilo! That's mean. Y'all think there's anything hidden down below? That was rough, bro. Judge's hat. Come on, don't die, don't die. Nah, I liked it. Give me some more horrible jokes. I love it, dude. That was good. Hey, thanks, Rex, for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Like, it's weird. They're right next to the fight, right? But they're watching it on the screen. That blows my mind. Another one, Rilo. I want another one. Oh, shit. Down there, dude. told my doctor I broke my arm in 2 places. He told me to stop going. My bank account and I have something in common. We both struggle to make ends meet. That's just the sad reality of it. The cemetery looks overcrowded. People must be dying to get in. Okay, you got me. Now I'm all joked out. You have those just loaded up, ready to go? Yeah, give me that loot. I hope no one tries to shoot my president at this thing. You know what I mean? Like, it happens every time.
I need a key for that.
Yeah. Got the day. What up, Juan Gonzalez? You mean how it's Sunday? Ole! Hope y'all having a fun time. I'll go to gym for a little bit and then like I can't justify it for $40 a month, you know what I mean? Oh my god, he messed me up. Go. Damn, that's when I first started. That'll work. I'm gonna end up getting so good this shit with speed run. Playing Gothic. Watching Trump sleep at the UFC fight. Way to say hi. Oh shit, I forgot. Hey, what's Fiji like, man? I feel like I'd like Fiji. I could be wrong though. I'm from Oklahoma, America. It smells like shit. Get it? shit. I didn't know this is up here. Exploration phase. Let's go ahead and quick save that real quick. It won't let me. Wow. Is it part of the Philippines or no? I bet that'd be nice. I'd like to come visit someday. As long as I can get my dick or head chopped off or anything chopped off, yeah. Oh wait, is it kind of by? It's not by Hawaii. Is it south of Hawaii or east or something like that? I think I passed by there on Google Earth one time. Honey badgers? Nah, I'm good. Okay. It's really, yeah. There was a news article about something, and I was looking out on Google Earth one time. It was beautiful out there. How do you get internet? Like Starlink, I guess? Satellite, huh? rugby out there. Is it really? Is it the most furthest place on the timeline? Oh man, I bet that. I heard there's either like a place in Australia, or maybe it's Fiji that like the whole time is just messed up. I'm right, my time zone's right in the center. Like super right in the center. Bullshit, man. Did Fiji ever have a king and queen or anything, or was it just like free forever? So, like, one side of the island's daytime and the other side of the island's nighttime type of thing. That'd be cool to see. Ah, that's awesome. How big is the island? Can you drive there and can you drive across it in one day? Oh my god, what a cheap, that cheap asshole. Sorry, my Fiji, my friend. Messed him up. I messed him up. Very safe. Ah, okay. So what's happening in the future, my Fijian friend? Oh! I'm heating up something in the microwave real quick. That's good though. Like, where do you get your food at? Is there like a grocery store? Or do you just like eat berries and nuts all year round or what? Blood-washed fucking clothes. That's crazy. Oh my God! chicken. I didn't see How do you get food over there? I'm genuinely asking. Yeah, you have a store, and if you do have a store, how do you get, how does it get its, how does it refill its stock of groceries? Like a boat comes in or what? Airplane? Well, figure it out for me. You live there. I appreciate you answering me honestly, though. Yeah, I'm down. Look, I'm eating cheese. It came from a cow. And it got processed at some place. And it was put there by a truck somehow. So, like, y'all got fresh cheese out there? It must be a farm, then. How does people work out there? Probably not like a lot of jobs. Puppy. No, I don't want the mohawk. No. Thank you, though. take a Moana woman, though. Let's go. was like, kind of weird offering me the Moana movie as a sign of gesture. I was like, you Fijians must be a little different. I'll just go with it. No, I didn't get to watch the Moana movie. I just know like they're Polynesian or some shit. Oh my God! Are they all from Fiji? Let's look it up. I'll look it up real quick. How does Fiji grocery work? So you got physical markets and local markets and digital delivery platforms. How big is that place? Oh, you got grocery stores and shit, huh? $1.95. You got Superstore in New World, Nadi, Dinaru, and Suba. Have a cashless society over in Fiji? What is it? Look it up. Lovo, a feast-style meal where meats, fish, vegetables are wrapped in banana leaves and cooked in an underground earth oven with hot stones. Oh, that'd be good! You got fish suruba, halusami, parcel of taro leaves filled with thick coconut cream, onions, garlic, often corned beef or fish. I ain't got no pictures. Let me look at here. Let me do this real quick. This. Do you know what that is? Wait, you can't see it. You know what that is? Or this? Ooh, that looks so good! Ooh. Fish and curry. We have that. That looks good, dude. What is that? Is it like the coconut cream and banana leaf shit? Do you eat the leaf? This is Kribati. Vegan halusami. Koga. Wow, Fiji looks amazing, dude. Coconut food. Ooh, wait! Look at that. I'm done playing golf for tonight. Look at that. Ooh, wee. Hey, look, this is Thai inspired coconut. Ooh, wee. And you said Lovo? Lovo. Look at that. Yeah, that looks good. Mm. Mmm. Koga. Yeah, this right here. Look at that coconut. Oh man, it looks good. I hate you. Now I'm all hungry for things I don't have. What's cassava cake? Let's look that up. No, not Lovo. Purini. That looks special. I don't even know what the hell it is. Hi, what? You need to go outside? Yeah, I'm hungry too. Up, 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 up. Get up here. I don't have nothing for you. Go away. Go. Oh, look. Someone finally came. My friend Rallo here, he's shown me Fijian uh, traditional dishes. Let's look at Raru. Ruro. Ruro? You go outside, Harvey? Okay, let's go outside.
take a look at this commercial from Fox. It's short, it's about 15 seconds, it has to do with the World Cup, but it's oh so telling.
Oh my god.
Right in our faces, blatantly mocking us. People, adults, distracted by what they're seeing on TV, the circus, while all around them, reptiles, serpents are invading, attacking, and taking over. But in this commercial, we can see these serpents mainly targeting the children, even landing on one's face. They're screaming for help. I mean, if this isn't in-your-face symbolism, I don't know what is. But the children's cries of help about the reptiles are being ignored because the adults are too busy watching what's on TV. The sport, the distraction. Finally, the serpent finds its way inside the man's home because he's still distracted. It bites him, probably poisoning him, and even though the fangs have dug into this man's neck, his gaze is still what's on the TV. Even the song that's being played while all this is going on is symbolism. I can't take my eyes off the TV. In 15 seconds, this is the perfect representation of society today. This commercial from Fox is not meant as a wake-up call or a PSA because they will be broadcasting the World Cup. This is just them laughing and mocking society. But next, take a look at this. This came directly from a friend of mine. He said he was looking through his Ring camera last night, and as he got to 4 o'clock in the morning, this orb appeared in the sky. But oddly enough, when it hits 5 o'clock in the morning, you can see it just move a little bit. Then by 5:47, it's completely gone. You can see as he goes back, it's not there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Very odd stuff, but that entire city has very bizarre things seen flying in the skies, which makes a lot of sense given the fact that it's only one of 2 cities in Florida that has a nuclear power plant. Not too far from him, I have spoken about capturing these orange things in the skies that don't move in one consistent direction as they're moving. It seems like they're jumping or pulsating across multiple spots. I wouldn't doubt one bit it's some kind of plasma or living plasma being released, a plasmoid. But moving on, people are talking about this strangeness that was captured on Google Earth. I'll go ahead and link the coordinates below, but this is over in the Superstition Mountain Range in the Tonto National Forest near Phoenix, Arizona. It looks like something massive that was created into the mountain but never finished. Some are suggesting this might be the Rogers Canyon cliff dwelling made by the Salado natives approximately 600 years ago, but no, this isn't it. I do wonder too if this object is really even there and this could be some kind of placeholder to hide what's actually there. You can even see somewhat inside it, but yeah, pretty odd. Does anybody have any idea what this could possibly be? But moving on, what in the world is this? On my other channel, Seconds of Horror, and if you're not subscribed yet, please do so. I am making a video on that channel about how CERN will be shutting down for 3 years, but will be returning in 2030 with something far more powerful. But this also coincides with a very interesting date, and it's also interesting we're hearing more and more about these sentient plasmoids, and how I also believe this all connects right back to data centers. Now the people on the box, again, news, media, the so-called powers that be, want us to believe that all these countries, the United States, Russia, China, are all enemies when that couldn't be furthest from the truth. When it comes to these data centers, one of the largest in the world will be over in Texas called Stargate, which is basically a portal. This former OpenAI executive said that Sam Alternative Man laid out plans to expand these Stargates in other countries. For example, they have one expanding into the UAE. It is going to be 7 times larger than Central Park and consumes roughly as much electrical power as the city of Miami. He was quoted as saying, "The truth is, we're building portals from which we're genuinely summoning aliens. The portals currently exist in the United States and China. Of course, these portals can be found in these 2 countries because they're working together to usher something in. We know this because of the ITER or ITER project, 33 countries, which China, the United States, and Russia are all included, to build this star on Earth." So with that being said, news came out yesterday that China put this massive sphere into the ground, which kind of reminds me of that movie Sphere, if anybody's seen that movie, but actually it's a massive underground neutrino detector. Neutrinos, which they also call specters or ghost particles. Remember that article that came out back in 2024 where CERN said a 4th dimensional entity had escaped and they called it a neutrino. They say that these neutrinos can also be used to find and unlock other dimensions, which is one of the goals of Fermilab, which is basically basically CERN in the United States. So China puts the sphere 700 meters underground, not just to detect neutrinos, but also capture them inside this machine as well. With these captured ghost particles, China is running all this data on them, and are they doing this for China's sole benefit and knowledge? Well, not exactly. No, they are not. What they're actually doing is taking this data and bringing it to the United States. Because the United States spent billions of dollars on something that will be completed by 2031 called the Deep Underground Neutrino Experiments. They will be taking these neutrinos and smashing them at a high rate of speed into liquid argon, and this will travel between Fermilab in Illinois all the way to South Dakota. Well, why are they doing this? These two countries spending billions of dollars that are supposedly rivals coming together, and like Fermilab says, they are like a puzzle piece coming together, and both countries are saying nothing to see here, we're just doing this to see what came before the Big Bang. But is that all they're really doing? Because this article from Scientific American going all the way back to September 1st, 2008, I'm surprised it's still up, says otherwise. The article is titled, Fermilab looks for visitors from another dimension. A prototype liquid argon detector called Argonaut will pave the way for the microboon facility at Fermilab. The article goes into how these neutrinos can go in and out of other dimensions, like again going back to that CERN article, and how they're using a liquid argon detector to detect these neutrinos going in and out. And how, theoretically, smashing or beaming neutrinos into liquid argon can help physicists probe for and find evidence of higher or extra dimensions. Well, flash forward to today, China and the United States are coming together hand in hand to do just that, smash these neutrinos into liquid argon, only 1 year after CERN completes their high luminosity Large Hadron Collider, so they really want to bust it wide open. And again, the excuse happens to be we are spending billions upon billions of dollars just to see what came before the Big Bang, while these older articles that talk about your experiments with these two things you're smashing together say otherwise. I said, I mean, you don't have to look very far to see that these people are lying. You don't have to dig very deep into the Triceratops feces to find they are spending billions upon billions of dollars on a lie to do what ritualists do, opening up other realms and dimensions and crossing things over. 2030 is going to be absolutely wild. I know some people are out there saying that we're not going to make it to 2027, everything's going to end in 2028. No, these evil ritualists are going to string us along all the way until they can drain the very last drop. This is why they have that 2030 one world government agenda, all these nations coming together for one rule, one law, one policy. Yes, we'll see signs that the end is here, and some can even argue that we're seeing these signs now, but nobody knows the exact time or hour when everything will come to an end. And I just think when it comes to the 2030s, we haven't seen anything yet. I mean, let's just take a look at some of the artwork seen over at Fermilab. You can see this directly on their website. You can see in this one a group of demons surrounding a black cauldron with a liquid inside, probably liquid argon, who really knows, but behind them a biblically accurate angel, probably a fallen one. These people are not hiding what they are. Yeah, they may lie about their experiments, but again, if you just look just a little bit deeper, you can see what they're actually trying to tell you. Another large cauldron with an unknown liquid inside, and what is this? Some black cube symbolism, of course, Fermilab's research. We have a stairwell of more biblically accurate angels, 7 to be exact, and they look like they're hooked up to cords, something digital. Again, absolutely nothing to see here at all. They just want to know what came before the Big Bang. But moving on, I saw this video from Barry Stepp's channel. The original creator is Shane Vibes, and it really makes a lot of sense why they're putting this in our food.
Breaking news out of Arizona State University. They did a bit of a study on some baby formulas and found nanomaterials in them. Now, some people think that these nanomaterials they're sharp or edgy and becomes toxic and it can wreak havoc and it rips and tears. Other people think that's completely fake, and that's not true. Like, officially, I don't want to get a fact check here, so I'm just telling you, officially, it's probably not bad for you at all, but some people think it's really bad. Now, according to EWG, there's actually a lot of nanomaterials in other foods as well, not just baby formula. And food companies are not required to disclose whether their foods contain nanoparticles. The FDA allows food manufacturers to decide if their own additives qualify for a designation called Generally Recognized as Safe, or GRAS, without ever having to notify the agency or etc. Now, this is where it gets a little bit crazy. I'm going to read this to you. The Mentos Mints Spicy Cinnamon Dentine Fire Gum has nanoparticles in it. Mother's Oatmeal Iced Cookies Kool-Aid lemonade, Dentine ice, peppermint gum, M&M's, Betty Crocker whipped cream frosting. I used to have that when I was little. You could just eat it right out of the thing, man. It was yummy. But nanobots, or nanomaterials rather, are in them. You do not want them. And this is also comes after that Coca-Cola and Pepsi have fluorescent nanoparticles. What the Sam is that? Basically, do not consume anything from a mainstream gigantic corporation, and you will be a lot healthier.
But it's not just in these large corporations, but it's in everything, especially the air we breathe with the smart dust. The nanoparticles, or these nanobots, they want to make sure it's constantly inside of us to keep us connected into their cloud hell. This all goes hand in hand with 6G. And don't take my word for it, here is the quote-unquote godfather of AI saying just that we are all going to be connected to the cloud through nanobots.
We will connect wirelessly our neocortex to the cloud.
This is with nanobots that enter your neocortex.
Right.
This is your prediction. For when? When is that? Just so I know.
June 2033.
Yeah. June 12th, 8:35 in the morning.
Weird. Isn't June 12th the month and day that Steven Spielberg's movie Disclosure Day premieres?
So we have 300 million modules in our neocortex, each of which can recognize a pattern. They're organized in this hierarchy. We create that hierarchy with our own thinking. But it's 300 million. So is that a big number or a little? Well, it was big enough for us to invent language and physics. But it's also limited when you realize how long it takes to read a book or learn a language. We will be able to expand that. And that expansion will not be a one-shot deal. It'll be connected to the cloud. The cloud is pure information technology. One of my themes is that information technology grows exponentially. It roughly doubles in power every year. That's what the cloud is doing. The cloud is twice as powerful every year. And when we can connect and expand our neocortex in the cloud, it will expand without limit. And so we'll be funnier and we'll be sexier and it'll be harder for you to win this prize again.
Right. So just to clarify what I think you just said, that in 20 years, plus or minus, so the mid-2030s, we will have nanobots that we can feed into our brain that directly connect to the cloud rather than through anything we carry in our pocket. And in that way, wirelessly, we can basically download entire books, entire languages, and we will then know these things just by the act of downloading them.
Well, that's one implication.
Into our brains.
But we'll have more neocortex. So we won't be limited to a mere 300 million pattern modules. We'll have billions or 10 billion.
What, biologically, or just simply because we have these nanobots?
We'll have this extension that's non-biological.
Non-biological, right. So
I mean, this would be pretty useless if it didn't have an extension. I mean, when you access all of Google.
Yes, it would just be a gaming device otherwise, right.
So, you can access all of knowledge and.
No, I got that. So isn't this like the scene in The Matrix where they sit in the chair and they upload. One of my favorite lines of the film is Keanu Reeves.
No,
they teach him martial arts, and he says, "I know kung fu." And you mean I'm gonna know, or jujitsu, whatever. So in 20 seconds, he's now an expert. Are you telling me that's what's going to happen?
The non-biological portion of our thinking will be able to download skills, right?
Wow.
And it does that now. I mean, you load some software in your computer. It didn't. For example, speech recognition, which I worked in, we had to spend months teaching a computer how to understand human speech. But now you want to do that on your notebook computer, you just download the software. It can download skills that another computer learned. So that's a feature of non-biological intelligence.
When it comes to the supposed evolved transhumanism that they're proposing, anybody that's not of the so-called powers that be will be even more easily hackable and controlled. Think about what else that can do, how we could possibly perceive things, see things that are not really there. That also can have us seeing fake scripted things, AI created things with our own eyes instead of behind a computer screen. And if they're telling us this now, this has been going on for quite some time.
Go out 20 years, 25 years, these nanobots, these blood cell-sized devices, will be going in our bodies, keeping us healthy from inside. We'll have some go inside our brains through the capillaries, non-invasively. They'll be interacting with our biological neurons. They'll extend our memory, our decision-making faculties. They'll put our brains on the internet. And they'll also enable us to enter a virtual reality environment from within the nervous system. So if I want to go in a virtual reality environment, the nanobots will shut down the signals coming from my real eyes and my real skin and create the signals that would be appropriate for the virtual environment. And then it'll feel like I'm in that environment. And I'll have a virtual body in that environment. It could be the same body I have in real reality, or it could be a different body. A couple could become each other. Experience a relationship from the other's perspective. A teacher could assign a student to become Ben Franklin in a virtual constitutional Congress, not just dress up as him, but become that character. And these virtual environments will be like websites. You'll have millions to choose from, and some will be recreations of beautiful earthly environments like the Taj Mahal or a Mediterranean beach. Some will be fantastic imaginary environments that couldn't exist on Earth. And these are not just sort of places to play, although we'll do that as well. These will be places to interact with other people, and it will be an extension of real reality.
In the section, it also says remotely read your thoughts. So that was in 1972. Now, in 2013, there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Ido Bachelet who gave a TED Med talk in Israel. And he's holding up a syringe. He says, I just brought this syringe from my lab, and just at the tip, not the full scale of the syringe, he says at the tip of this needle was 1,000 billion robots. Nanorobots is what he was talking about. They're 50 nanometers in size. That's 2,000 times the width of a strain of a human hair. You can never see it. It would be invisible. But what these robots can do and can self-replicate, they can self-assemble, they can cross the blood-brain barrier, they can attach to your DNA. And he teaches his students, and he's saying this in the presentation, how to control these things once they're in the host with an Xbox controller. That is what we're dealing with now.
Have employee-less stores. You think AI is going to come and take all these jobs to where you go to a store and there's nobody there to help you? Do you really think that's going to happen, Eric? Oh, and by the way, notice how they market tyranny with words like patriot. It's always the inverse.
Hey everyone, I stopped at a gas station in Alabama to get some fuel, and y'all talk about minimum wage, how high it's getting and stuff. This gas station is what's going to happen. Everything here is automated. There's not a soul here working. And I'm going to show you around to show you what I've seen. I've never seen this before, but I'm here with my truck. Just got out.
See, how do I get
just a regular gas
like
pump.
that,
You
right?
pay at
Drive
the
some
pump.
nice
But let me
truck
take you
around.
inside. Like I say, there's no attendants. There's nobody here. As you go in, there's nothing. There's nobody. There's not a window. There's nothing. See, it says pay at the pump only, no cash accepted. There's your coffee, ice. I'm making a video of this. I ain't never seen nothing like this. You talk about minimum wage going up? This is what's going to happen. There's nobody here to pay.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a card.
Mm-hmm. All of these machines are automated.
Maybe.
And all you do is come over here and you touch the screen. You pick what you want. Like if I wanted a drink. Let's take sodas. Soda. There's all the sodas. You put your money in the machine, and the sodas are down here. They drop down. Now let me show you the bathroom.
Yeah, show us the bathroom.
There's the ladies. There's the men's. Restrooms, purchase required. Code on the bottom of receipt. You have to purchase gas outside to get a code. You punch it in right here. For the women's.
I love it, dude.
That's for the men's. And there's not a soul here. So they don't have to pay minimum wage. And all they have over here is
We're going to be animals again.
they have a microwave, stuff for your coffee, ice,
Seal that microwave.
everything. Gas pumps
That
on
would
this
not
side.
work in Chicago.
Gas pumps on the other side. No one to pay. So that.
You will own nothing, and you will be happy.
What I would find terrifying is going inside that bathroom, it malfunctions, and it will not let you out. But no worries whatsoever if more and more stores and employers continue to do this, because Elon Musk says he has us covered with high universal basic income. Take a look at this craziness.
It'd be great. And I do think we'll have universal high income. We're basically just...
Someone said, Silver Shire said, all the data centers are going to give all the Americans kickbacks, so we won't have to work.
Issue money to people, you know, and the really just because the output of goods and services will so far exceed the money supply that you know that effectively you have deflation, because just deflation is just the ratio of the outputs of goods and services to the money supply. So if the rate of growth of goods and services far exceeds the rate of growth of the money supply, which I predict will happen, then you will have deflation.
Yes, and a lot of people spinning up new companies, competing against each other, driving the price down, and increasing the variability and deflation faster and faster.
Yeah, it's basically AI and robots are going to make so much stuff and provide so many services that they will actually run out of things to do for the humans. They'll just run out of things to do for the humans, and then they'll, you know, there's only so much that humans can even express that they want. So you go back to my example of, like, if you go 1 million times greater than the Earth's economy, you've long since saturated all human desire. You know, like maybe like if you go 1,000 times more than our current economy, 1,000 times, you probably have already saturated human anything people can think of that they want.
So do you think the value of money is going to significantly decrease? Will we go post-capitalist?
Yeah, I think money will stop being relevant at some point in the future.
So just as you're becoming
it's probably something like an Ian Banks culture sort of future. And I think the AI down the road will really not use human currency. It will just care about power and mass, wattage and tonnage.
It's kind of ironic then, right? Just as you're becoming a multi-trillionaire, money starts to have less value.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You know, all this stuff, it's really just trillionaires represents like some percentage ownership in companies that I've you know, built, and it's not like sitting in a bank account. You know, it's just literally I own a percentage of the companies. The companies are doing lots of useful things. The value of the company grows. I own a percentage of the companies, and that's sums up to that number, which seems high.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, much like his grandfather, is a technocrat through and through. The currency he's talking about, more than likely, are energy certificates, carbon-based currency like his grandfather proposed. Yes, we don't have to worry about money because the government will give us what we need within our means, and they will control all aspects of it. And another thing is, with this given to us by the government,
have you noticed
we have to be good
all
little
these,
NPCs
like,
and bots, and it'll probably be
scientists,
linked to our
NASA,
digital ID.
all these
If we were to
guys
say what
have
they
the
say
shittiest
anyways,
audio
misinformation,
ever.
talk against the
It's
grain,
weird.
or do not follow their rules and policies like a good little NPC or bot, they will shut that wallet right down.
Man. Made a horror game about him? Nah, get the fuck out of here. Really? Whatever. Guys, we're watching Trump at the UFC fight. We're not watching the UFC fight, you know what I mean? But I'm just watching random vids as well. We're having a good night. 13 people in chat. Hope y'all are having a good time. But boom. We better look up old Barry. See what Barry's doing. He gets lazy with it.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. let's get after it.
I don't think anyone realizes how insane the security is about to be in this year's World Cup. Not only because a host is in an active war with one of the participants for the first time in history, but also because it's set to become the largest sporting event ever held.
13
So,
people
in
in
the
chat.
US,
Hey,
AI is going to be
Blitzkrieg,
used to
good to
scan
have
the
you, bud.
stadium in
JP,
real
good to
time to
have you.
detect any crowd anomalies.
Mel
Their
Gilman,
gates are going to make
good to
use
have
of
you.
facial recognition,
No,
fingerprint
nope,
checks, and
good to
smart
have you.
surveillance systems. The FAA has declared no-fly zones over every single stadium, training ground, and hotel where the teams are staying at. But in case people don't listen, they're either going to fine them $100,000 if they see a drone, and they have specific takedown teams ready to shoot anything down if necessary. Oh, and here's one that's going to make you mad. Water bottles, hard containers, and a long list of noise-making items are expected to be restricted inside the stadiums. So sorry, South Africa, no vuvuzelas. Over in Canada, literal fighter jets, likely armed with missiles and machine guns, are going to patrol over venues in Vancouver and Toronto. Meanwhile, in Mexico, they're deploying 100,000 security personnel, 2,000 military and civilian vehicles, 24 aircraft, including Black Hawk choppers, anti-drone systems, and even robot dogs to support law enforcement. So the question is this going to be the most dangerous or safest World Cup ever?
This sounds like extreme overkill. In what circumstance do they expect to find themselves in where it's going to be necessary for them to deploy these jets with...
Listen, all of my fellow Americans do not understand the chaos which will ensue of a World Cup. Please forgive us. They're literally all ignorant.
Missiles. This doesn't even make any logical sense. What would they even use that for? Even if there was an expected terrorist attack, it's probably going to be somebody on foot. They plan to take out the terrorist with a missile? As far as a security response goes, this is so far beyond overkill. It's absolutely ridiculous.
They will nuke
and why
a
are we
whole
even
stadium.
focused on this? Why are we even still holding this event? I honestly feel like they should just cancel the whole thing. I'm completely on board with recreational activities and celebrating specific milestones, but when the entire world looks like it's literally unraveling in real time, I feel like there are much more important things to be focusing our attention on. But as we all know, we don't get a say in how our tax dollars are spent, so we have no choice but to just sit here and watch them throw it all away.
Starbucks and Pizza Hut are among the companies that have scrapped AI tools just this last week.
Right, Uber as well.
Uber ran out of it, and they're wondering if it's even worth it to re-up. Pizza Hut franchises are suing Pizza Hut corporate because the mandatory AI delivery system was a total flop. They're suing for $100 million in damages of lost revenue, lost profits, business interruption, damage to goodwill.
Whoa.
PwC survey of 4,000 CEOs, 56% of them say AI has not produced any cost or revenue benefits. 22% says that their costs have actually increased. Microsoft report says that these companies are finding using AI tools more expensive than having humans.
Part of it is like a very basic thing you see with a company trying to promote itself, which is to be like, we have so much demand that we simply we can't keep up with the demand, which is
but it's only high demand because it's free. So what is going to happen when all these people pull back on AI and there's no constraint anymore? The driving reason for why you need all this money is not there anymore.
I think the vibe of today's video is going to be a bit different than usual. Usually whenever I'm putting these clips together, it's just one video after another of stuff that's going to keep you awake at night and make it hard for you to sleep. Because these videos are typically one warning after another. And a lot of those warnings have to do with artificial intelligence. Because they're trying to add AI to absolutely everything. We've already reached the point that you can't make it through the day without hearing about AI. They're doing everything they can to shove this technology down our throats. But I'm starting to see a major trend. There are a lot of these companies that were early adopters of AI that are now realizing that that was a huge mistake. And we're starting to see things getting dialed back significantly. I don't want to get my hopes up, but it's starting to look like the pendulum is swinging back in the other direction. It's starting to look like a lot of these big corporations are finally realizing that this AI is not what they promised us it would be.
The real cost of AI has been hidden this whole time. Turns out we actually can't afford it. It's no secret that every tech company is subsidizing their chatbots so that they can gobble up market share. They don't need to make a profit because they just get free money from investors. So things can be cheaper unless you're a real company like Microsoft. They've had a massive change to their AI billing incoming for GitHub Copilot. And now that it's hit, people are too poor for AI. What used to be a flat rate, affordable subscription has now turned into a massive bill for many who burn through way more tokens than their wallets can handle. Some people are getting hit with multi-$1,000 quotes from their usage when they paid less than $100 before. But it's not just their end users who are paying out of the nose. Microsoft themselves were bleeding cash from all their devs using Claude Code, so they've frozen that and are instead trying to get people to use their in-house products to stop the money fire.
So essentially, what it sounds like he's saying to
Barry,
me
I'm
is
losing
that
viewers 'cause
all
of
of
you,
these
dude.
companies were using AI at a largely discounted rate, and they were being given that discounted rate in an effort to push everyone toward the use of AI. And then once all of these companies have all of this stuff integrated into their system, and it's difficult to remove it because they fired half of their staff and replaced them with a large language model. And so now you're going to have a lot of people who have no choice but to pay this exorbitant rate, or they're going to lose their entire business. I think we're about to see a lot of software developers getting their jobs back.
Microsoft, Meta, Google have all seen their free cash flow margins, which is the actual money left over after spending, collapse towards zero when you account for their AI capital expenditure. JP Morgan's analysts are projecting that by 2027, several of these companies will have negative free cash flow, meaning they will be spending more than what they'll be bringing in. From companies that were just a few years ago the most profitable businesses in human history. But it gets crazier. On the other side of that spending, look at who they're spending it with. It is all with each other. OpenAI has committed $280 billion to Microsoft and $138 billion to Amazon. Anthropic committed $30 billion to Microsoft and $100 billion to Amazon. In total, OpenAI and Anthropic's spending commitments represent roughly half of Microsoft's entire revenue backlog, 54% of Oracle's, 51% of Amazon's. So what you actually have is a system where big tech invests into AI startups. The AI startups then use that money to rent computing power back from big tech. Big tech books the investment gains as profit and then uses that profit to justify spending even more. The money is mostly going in a circle. Michael Burry's company recently did a deep dive on this exact thing, and the circle only keeps spinning as long as everyone sort of agrees about the valuations, which sort of brings us back to the IPO. The second these companies go public, the valuations stop being whatever just a couple investors decided they were in a private funding round, right? They become whatever the open market decides they're worth. And if those numbers come in lower than what Google and Amazon have been booking as profit, then those profits have to get revised, right? The earnings that justified the stock prices get revised
I watch
downward.
it too, but he gets a
And
little
then the whole
pissy
loop
sometimes. Are you talking
goes in
about Barry
reverse.
Stepp or that
Right, so
dude?
this theory says that is why
Or
the
this guy. I seen his shit a few times. He got some good vids.
timing of all of this is so important to them. That's why they changed the rules. That is why there's such an urgency to get these IPOs to go public as fast as possible.
I don't really have a high level of understanding when it comes to the stock market or taking a company public. It's very likely that anyone watching this has a better understanding of it than I do. However, with the very limited understanding of it that I do have, the more I sit here and look at this, the more it starts to look like a massive money laundering operation. You've got like 4 or 5 companies that are just taking the same chunk of money and just passing it from one checking account to the next. But I think what this guy's saying is they've given these imaginary, highly inflated valuations to these companies, and they don't really have the value that they're claiming they have. And every day that passes without them taking the company public, that valuation just keeps going up. And it's very likely that none of these AI companies have the actual value that they're claiming they're worth. So when they take these companies public,
They said
and
the
it's
war's
the
about to
general
be
population that's deciding the value of these companies,
I did a
it's
video
probably
about it
going
on
to
the other
immediately
channel.
tank a lot of businesses. Because what's going to happen if you have an AI company that has had $500 million invested into it, And when you take that
We
company
have 0
public,
viewers.
it
yeah,
ends
right.
up being valued at like $30 million.
We have like
That
7
is a
people
lot
in
of
here, chat.
perceived value being deleted overnight. And maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Again, I do not have a great understanding of how this stuff works. But if I'm understanding this right, if that is the actual issue that he's trying to describe, then it makes total sense why they would want to hurry up and go public with these companies. Because they're going to keep pumping money into them. They're going to keep inflating the value. So the longer they wait, the larger the...
We, together, are watching weird movies, and President Trump said at the UFC.
discrepancy becomes.
These are two of my favorite stories, and I think they will be yours too if you hate having AI forced down your throat. First, a Pizza Hut franchisee who owns 110 Pizza Hut locations is suing Pizza Hut, the big corporation, for $100 million, claiming that Pizza Hut corporate, forcing them to use a new AI technology, caused widespread chaos and delivery delays, stopped their customers, and led to a significant decline in sales, which is obviously not the goal of any company. And the lawsuit came with some receipts. They said that before the AI technology rolled out in 2024, more than 90% of their deliveries reached customers within 30 minutes. They also had consistent double-digit sales growth and above-average customer satisfaction scores. But after they implemented the AI system, which they did so that they could reduce labor costs and improve efficiency, all of that performance went downhill across all those metrics. And honestly, I don't blame him for suing, because people could have easily just switched to Domino's, where the pizza tracker has not failed me in over a decade, long before AI. Okay, the second story is somehow more pathetic. Starbucks launched a new AI-powered inventory management system last September. That was 9 months ago. And this system was supposed to manage all their store supplies of ingredients for beverages like milks and syrups in order to track shortages. And then instead of people having to count them, they would just, send that over to corporate, and then they would get more supplies.
Trump's at the top.
However, in less time than it takes to make a baby, because actually making a baby takes 10 months and no one tells you that for whatever reason. Starbucks has already gotten rid of its AI milk counting system because the AI technology could not, and this part is crucial, count milks. Apparently, the AI would frequently miscount and mislabel items and hallucinate inventories entirely, and it couldn't identify the presence of bottles on shelves, which then resulted in their stores receiving either too much or too little of the miscounted supplies. Somehow this thing is dumber than a calculator or, like, the machines that people have used since the Industrial Revolution. I'm pretty sure those things can count. Assembly lines, they can count for sure. Thought this part doesn't really bode well for the technology at large. Apparently, one shift supervisor at Starbucks told Fortune, quote, "It started off not particularly accurate and got less accurate over time." Really? You mean the technology that cannot reliably spell strawberry also can't tell skim milk from whole milk?
I'm telling you, today's video is full of good news. So not only are they realizing that they're not saving any money by using AI and firing actual employees, but these companies are now starting to realize that the AI that they've replaced their employees with can't even function and do the job properly. This is absolutely hilarious. All of these companies just immediately jumped on board with this AI stuff because they thought, hey, we could fire half of our staff and keep all that money in our own pocket. And now, not only does that not seem to be working very effectively, but it looks like in most scenarios, it's actually going to hurt their bottom line. So not only is it not going to give them these extra profits that they thought they were going to get by screwing over their employees, but it looks like in a lot of instances, these companies are actually going to make less money than they would have made had they just kept things the way they were. A lot of these companies are going to have no choice but to just rehire people. That's literally the only solution. If you're using an AI in place of a human being and it can't even count right, that's not a problem that you're going to easily fix. And if the AI can't handle something that simple, how can you trust it to run all of your inventory and do all of your ordering? And here's something else that I think a lot of these companies never really took into consideration. What if the AI that's in charge of all of your inventory for every store just suddenly completely glitches out and doesn't order anything? And what if no one catches it because there aren't any humans involved in the ordering process? So what happens if delivery day comes and no truck shows up? If it were a human being that made that mistake, you would have options. You could either fire them, you could offer better training to ensure that the issue doesn't happen again in the future. Heck, if the situation was bad enough, you could probably sue that individual for the amount of money that they cost your company. But if you're using something like ChatGPT to order all of your supplies and schedule all of your deliveries, if delivery day comes and goes and no truck shows up, what are you going to do about it? How are you even going to figure out where things went wrong so you can ensure that it doesn't happen again in the future? Would they just replace it with a different AI agent and cross their fingers and hope for the best? But to put one of these AI agents in charge of a significant portion of your business, any of these CEOs who thought that was a good idea, anyone who took that risk because they wanted to save on labor cost and put more money in their pocket, I can't help but to feel like they deserve whatever's headed their way. I think we're about to see some of these big companies lose a lot of money.
Are we really witnessing an AI backlash, or is it just the trough of disillusionment, this disappointment phase that always follows the giddy hype around a new technology? Yeah, but this one does feel different. Remember that with every new technology that came along, we were told it's going to change everything, the world will be unrecognizable afterwards, whereas what actually happens is the technology just ends up delivering pretty mundane, boringly useful gains. It settles into the fabric of our lives. The problem with AI is that it's like Silicon Valley is collectively high on drugs and often talking in these science fiction terms like Demis Hassabis did this week at Google I/O, talking about being at the foothills of the singularity. That's a long way off the good old days of Zuck wanting to connect the world and Steve Jobs wanting to make creative work easier. So with these massive visionary promises of a new world, they are making the biggest financial bets in history to get there. Remember that each of the tech companies wants to be the one to win this new future, so they're betting the farm on it. The only problem is that we, the people, really don't like it because a lot of that investment is to build very unpopular physical infrastructure in the form of data centers, which are terrible for the environment and particularly for the surrounding communities. And guess whose backyard they get built in? Yeah, disadvantaged communities who lack financial and political power. So you've probably seen these commencement speeches going viral recently where graduates at American universities have booed mentions of AI. They even booed the ex-CEO of Google as he talked about it because they see AI as a threat. And I think that's the reason those videos surprised us and went viral, because young people are usually the first to adopt new technology and to get excited and optimistic about it. But this generation isn't. They're seeing AI eat up the entry-level jobs that would normally be their next step after graduating.
I want to hear all of y'all's opinion on where you think we stand right now with this AI stuff. I don't think we'll reach a point where they're going to stop trying to push this on us. And when I say they, I mean the federal government and some of the more invested tech companies. I think they have so much invested in this stuff at this point that they can't really backtrack. They can't turn around and try to take it in a different direction. And that's besides the fact that the federal government wants to build out this mass surveillance infrastructure. They have to have AI for that. They can't run it without it. But I'm starting to wonder if we're about to see a new trend of a lot of these companies kind of pumping the brakes with AI use. It's obvious that the people who are in control of things believe that this is the direction the future's headed in, that they think this is the technology that everyone needs to be focused on. But it's also very obvious that the public does not care for AI. It's still a relatively new technology and everyone's already sick of hearing about it. It's being implemented into everything to the point that you're almost forced to use it on a daily basis to some degree. And now it seems like half the country's population is in some battle with the tech company that's trying to build a data center in their backyard. So the federal government may view this as the technology of the future, but the general population views it very differently. And clearly, a lot of these big companies are on board with the government's agenda, but they do have to turn a profit. So, to a degree, they have no choice but to pay attention to public sentiment. And it wouldn't make any sense for these big companies to keep pouring millions and millions of dollars into a technology that everyone's already sick of hearing about and wants nothing to do with.
The IEA have officially described what we are living through right now as the worst oil crisis in history. So why doesn't it feel like it? Well, that answer is kind of terrifying. You see, this is journalist Max Fisher, and he's just done an incredible analysis on the one major thing most people don't think about during times of war: the speed of boats. Turns out, though, it's incredibly important because these huge skyscraper-sized oil tankers transport millions of barrels of oil around the world each day at a speed of about 10 to 15 knots. That's the speed of riding a bike. Now imagine if we relied on someone riding a bike to bring our oil all the way from the Middle East to Europe. We'd be waiting weeks or months for them to cycle here. But that's the pace that the global oil supply chain operates at. that. So when a major disruption happens, like in the Strait of Hormuz, the impact isn't felt immediately. There are still hundreds of these ships still in transport that left before the war kicked off, and they haven't even reached their destinations in Europe, Asia, and the United States yet. But when those last pre-crisis shipments do arrive, which is around this month, after that, there's nothing behind it. That is when the world really starts to feel the disruption in the market.
Think of it like a bomb that's exploded very far away. We see the flash, but the shockwave hasn't reached us yet.
So what happens when that shockwave does eventually hit? Well, oil means energy, and energy sits underneath almost everything in an economy. And it's not that the world is gonna run out of oil. I mean, we still got 80% of the supply. It's that oil is bought in one big global market. And when a 20% chunk disappears, everyone who still needs that 20% now has to outbid everyone else to get it. That raises global oil prices for everyone, regardless of how much or how little your country imports from the Middle East. And the big problem arrives when that oil becomes expensive enough that industries and businesses start cutting back. If fuel prices get too high, airlines start cutting flights. Factories slow down or shut off because they can't afford the power. Shipping becomes even more expensive, meaning fewer items get sent. And the things that do arrive cost more. So what you end up with isn't just higher prices, it's less of almost everything. Less travel, less production, fewer goods, and a noticeable drop in how much overall the economy can do. And perhaps all of that is becoming more and more clear by the day. So yeah, it's going to be a rough next few months, and not all countries will feel it the same. But how rough really depends on how long this war drags.
I just wanted to add that because it was a perspective that I had not really considered in regards to this future potential oil shortage. It looks like in just a few months, the price of everything is about to go through the roof. And honestly, they probably planned it this way. They're probably doing this intentionally because they want to increase the cost of everything. The higher prices go, the more money they put in their pocket. And you know the people running things have everything they need, so they're not worried about a shortage of anything. And hopefully this won't play out the way it appears like it's going to. But I really don't have a lot of faith that our current administration is going to figure out a way to fix this problem. If anything, they'll probably figure out a way to make it worse. But I wanted to add this so everyone would be aware of what's potentially headed our way in just a few months. All we can really do is try our best to be prepared for a potential bad situation, but at least we know what's coming.
In lieu of spending years in prison, scientists want to put criminals in a 7-minute hell that feels like decades. And here's how they say it could work. First way, something like Neuralink. Elon Musk's company is already putting chips in people's brains to help them control computers with their thoughts. In this idea, the chip would create full virtual experiences, forcing the criminal to feel their victim's pain, fear, and trauma over and over for what feels like years, all in just minutes. And the second way, using light or electrical signals to mess with the brain directly. This could change how time feels and plant fake memories so that the person lives through decades of regret and isolation while their body just sits there. Third way, super advanced VR, hooked straight into the brain. It takes over your senses and emotions and makes everything feel completely real. I like you, Henry. Thank you for being here, bud. They've tested basic versions on animals in labs, and all scaled up, it's basically just mind control. And this stuff isn't pure sci-fi. Experts are actually talking about it as a better way to fix criminals. While I do think it's good that someone who did something horrible might finally see what they caused, I do think putting someone in a virtual hell is kind of crossing the line, because that's God's job at the end. But at the same time, I do think if they experienced some of these things, that maybe they wouldn't go out and reoffend again. And on another side of that, I'm not sure a few minutes would ever be enough for the victims and their families. And it leaves me pretty conflicted overall. But it goes way deeper than that, guys. They're showing us in real time what they're actually capable of. Just another piece of a very controlling system being built right in front of our eyes. And I think it's time to wake up. I love you guys. Keep your eyes on Jesus. God bless.
I've got a lot of questions about this technology. I'm just going to go ahead and say I think that they should scrap this technology. I don't even think that they should be testing this. but I have a lot of reasons why I think this is an absolutely atrocious idea. For one, it seems completely unethical to me to put a chip into somebody's brain regardless of the reason. But what are the laws going to be when they implement this and someone gets arrested for something and the AI claims that there's a 100% facial recognition match and they're guilty of murder, but in reality the person's completely innocent and the AI made a mistake? When the court goes to sentence this individual to a 20-year VR prison experience, if this person doesn't already have a Neuralink or some other brain chip in their head that they can utilize to give them the 20-year VR prison experience, is the government going to force them to have one installed? Because we shouldn't ever reach a point where someone gets one of these Neuralink devices against their will. But let's say the person already has a Neuralink device and they're being wrongfully accused of a horrible crime. Let's say they get sentenced to 20-year virtual prison. What kind of testing did they do to ensure that this person's really experiencing 20 years? Couldn't they only find that out by testing it on an individual prior to this situation and simply asking them, hey, how long did it feel like you were in there? And who's going to volunteer to sit in a chair for 7 minutes and feel like they're in prison for 20 years? They're probably going to have no choice but to try this out on people who are already inmates and are willing to take the chance. Like people who they offer, hey, you've got 10 years left on your sentence, sit in this chair for 5 minutes, do it virtually, explain the experience when you get out, and we'll let you out of jail today. If that individual takes the deal and they sit down and spend 5 minutes in the chair and they don't actually feel like they spent 20 years in prison, they feel like they spent 5 minutes sitting in a chair, they're not going to tell the person that's conducting the experiment that they only sat there for 5 minutes. They're going to lie and tell them, oh yeah, it worked. I felt like I was locked away for 15, 20 years. So we'll likely never be able to truly know if this is functioning properly. But what if we try this on somebody and it malfunctions and they get a 200-year prison experience? This whole thing just sounds like a way to cook someone's brain. Just stopping for a moment to think about the potential side effects, and especially considering the individuals that this will be used on, it doesn't take long to realize how stupid this idea is. Just think about this for a minute. So you're going to take someone who's accused of a violent crime, put them in a chair for 5 minutes, give them a 20-year virtual prison experience, and 20 years is enough time for someone's entire personality to change. And then you're just going to send that person back out on the street and hope for...
No. Just stop worrying about it, Barry. Just stop worrying about it. Yeah, watch this. Let's watch it again and see if I did.
What in the world is going on here? So I do have an entire segment about these plasmoids, but can somebody tell me what is going on in New York's underground?
Hey, I
we
need
have
all y'all
multiple
to
individuals
subscribe.
going into manholes, and yet even though it's illegal to do so, their identities have never been revealed. They've never been arrested, even though we have cameras everywhere, like it's some type of dystopian 1984 society. Prior to this, there were also other individuals going into a tunnel where they took out a mattress with a stain on it. But this newest story involving tunnels in New York really takes the cake.
Mayor, can you give us a word?
It's not,
What's happening?
some young girls, some kids, they, in the park, they were in the park, they got into the culvert of the creek, and they started exploring, and then they ended up not really knowing where they were, and they got a little alarmed. As far as I know from the police, I just got here a few minutes ago. As far as I know from the police, everybody's been accounted for. Nobody's missing. They're about to get them all on their buses, take them back home.
Mayor Joe Rand, Nyack, thank you very much.
Oh my God!
There we go.
that Chris Hockett guy just yelled at the top of his lungs after he won the fight or whatever that Michelle Obama is a man. He just yelled that at the White House fight. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Let's take a look at that real quick.
And lastly, Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America? Ladies and gentlemen. And lastly, Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America? Ladies and gentlemen. And lastly, Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America?
Connie, they're good? Yeah, we're good. You're gonna wait. Let them get out first. That's what I want to get my. We're gonna walk this way, right? Okay, go this way. All the way. Come on. To the corner. To the corner. To the corner. One line. Keep on the line. Try to the line. Deixa eu move up a little bit. Move up a little bit. Move up a little
When have you ever heard or seen anything like this before? And the official explanation is what you heard from the mayor. These 71 plus girls supposedly on a school trip to Nyack Memorial Park, wandering around the park, see this cave, and all of them say, hey, let's go in, let's go further and further and further, until they came out the other end of the tunnel. Now that's being reported by CBS, but I think that's a lie. Oddly enough, but not surprising, a lot of these news agencies are leaving out some very important details or scrubbing it all together. For example, this was only known because a woman at a restaurant, she heard a bunch of kids' voices coming through the drainage grate on the patio floor. This is when she proceeded to call 911. A lot of major news agencies, like for example this one right here from CBS, they're not mentioning the 911 call or these voices being heard. You also have some news agencies like this one right here from Rockland News referring to these teens as young adults. Now yes, the minimum age to be considered a young adult in New York is 18, but we don't know if all these teenagers are 18. Sounds like some of these news agencies are trying to make it sound like there were not children down there. And if we were to take their story for face value, I can see one or two of them wandering off and getting lost, but over 70 of them? No, something odd, something very, very odd is happening all over the world underground, but especially under New York. But talking about the underground, I saw this off Matrika's channel.
Can somebody tell me why I hear gurgling sounds in my yard? And the other day I thought I was losing my mind.
A sprinkler!
But you're going to be able to hear it, even on my phone. Just
your
hold on just a
your
minute.
ground's wet. You're stepping on it. Idiot.
That is a terrifying sound to hear coming from your house. Either that's a septic tank, some type of sinkhole is about to open up, or it could even be them drilling below, doing work below, some type of boring for more tunnels. But moving on, what was this captured above the waters over in Mexico? This video comes from the Paranormal Chick.
appears that sightings of UFOs are It appears that sightings of UFOs are not decreasing, and in fact, they are increasing. Take a look at this footage that was captured by a witness in Mexico. They noticed this orb down below them, directly above the shoreline. But the thing is, it's not just a typical orb. This one looks like that star, the spinning wheel, and they have no idea what it's doing. It's
like
almost
a
like
kite.
it's gathering information.
That's a kite.
And that's what a lot of these
This chick's so
UFOs appear to be
stupid, dude.
doing. They appear to be hovering
so
over things such
stupid.
as the ocean and
Hey,
just
look,
there for
Drew.
moments, as if they're taking readings. Makes you wonder. Take a look at this footage.
I don't know
Comment
who
below.
won.
Tell us what you think.
I'm only watching Trump at the fight. But they said the hockey guy said Michelle Obama is a man. That's a kite. That's a special type of kite. They spin. Oh, God. I feel compelled to tell him. I do it. 06 19. The kite. It's a kite.
There are a few theories, anywhere from it being AI, I mean, we can't take AI off the table, or some kind of 3D printed technology, to even an angel, a biblically accurate angel. Or
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. All these UFO vids is coming out from the government. They're all old, defunct test flight footage of like shit we were testing, and some of it's so weird and bonkers that it's an alien. No,
even
it's just
a
weird.
plasmoid, which what
Aliens don't need lights on their aircraft.
I'm going to talk about next, these plasmoids might even be angels themselves or fallen ones. So does anybody remember?
Hey, Drew, are you subscribed to my channel? You should. I'm on the path. I need 500 subscribers. I need 500. And we're at like 180, or we was, and we're grinding for everyone. So I need you here because I like your mentality mindset.
Remember when Jordy,
I need
evil
everyone
George
else in here
Costanza
too.
Rose
So hit
said
up,
this.
subscribe.
Just
I need my
imagine
crew.
what would happen if that happened. A super intelligent alien race beamed down a message to all of us Earthlings saying, we're coming July 13th, 2030, and boy, you better be ready because the mothership is landing right on the front lawn of the White House or wherever you wanted to land on that day. The amount of resources that would be marshaled to try to figure out what to do would encompass the whole world.
Now, I'm sure you remember this because this video gets played a lot, but anytime I use this video as an example, I always make sure to save that date, write that date down, July 13th, 2030, because he did not pull that date out of thin air. When it comes to the so-called powers that be and those that are connected to them, there's no such thing as randomness, especially when it comes to numbers, dates, and time. The reason why I'm talking about this video again happens to be, if you're not aware, in a couple weeks, CERN, they will be shutting down their Large Hadron Collider on June 29th. You know, the thing that a lot of people blame a lot of strange stuff on, the Mandela effect, the merging of realities, why things in general just seem so weird lately. There were even news articles that came out that CERN stated that when the Large Hadron Collider was activated, a fourth dimensional entity had crossed over, which they called a neutrino, or a ghost, or a specter. But they said it was just a particle, bro. According to CERN,
Just
the
a
Large Hadron
particle,
Collider
bro.
will be shutting down to
Thank
receive
you,
its
Drew.
biggest upgrade it has ever had, and it'll be dubbed the High Luminosity Large Hadron Collider. Smashing particles
We just gotta get a crew going up on this channel, right? And then whatever we end up doing over here will be fun, because then we got our core mofos and we'll just start drop kicking blocks of Lego. You know what I mean?
Together at a rate 10 times higher than that of the original design. They will awaken the High Luminosity Collider and do this experiment 4 years from the date that they shut it down, which will put it at June 29th, 2030. That would put it 2 weeks to the day prior to July 13th, 2030, the date Jordy Rose gave in that video. But instead of these things coming from space in a spaceship, in a mothership, is it possible they will enter in another way, possibly a portal, summoning an entity or entities over? But here's the thing, back in January of 2026, prior to us getting all this news about scientists, plasma scientists, mysteriously disappearing or ending up deceased, these plasma scientists over in New York took a particle accelerator, much weaker than the one they're creating now with this high luminosity one, smashed together beams of gold nuclei and created a plasmoid which lasted much longer than the actual impact itself. If they can do that with the original design, imagine what they can do with something much more powerful, and on top of that, possibly these data centers also contributing to that power. And in theory, it's not taken off the table that all these data centers around the world, not just in the United States where there's like over 5,000 or 6,000 of them, could combine their power. And in theory, all this power could be contributed to something like the High Luminosity Collider. So imagine with all that power shot at one time, what they could rip open, what they could usher in, summon over, or even create. They could, like Jordy Rose said, bring in the mothership, which is not too far off given the fact that the United States Navy was doing just that with plasma. They were creating UFOs. The missing general, William McCaslin, who has dealt heavily with plasma with directed energy weapons, pulse power, and advanced aerospace propulsion programs, came to an understanding, at least on his X account, that plasma and plasmoids were linked to demons.
Wow.
Former Blink-182 frontman Tom DeLonge, who's heavy into UFOs, emailed John Podesta.
Listen, he had the chance to do something great for the people. You know what he did? He Canadianated it all up, and not in like a good Canadian way, like I'm a self-righteous wannabe good guy Canadian guy. Like real Canadians just don't have to try to be good, they're just good. Tom DeLonge fucked up all of disclosure for us, all of it, and anything they showed him that he may believe was real, that some of this shit that they're feeding us right now, he's as dumb as the rest of them.
Who was the former White House Chief of Staff under Bill Clinton, to set up a meeting between them and General McCaslin and his wife, and supposedly this was said.
I was sitting there, he leans across the table, and this is the very first words that were said to me. It was the Cold War, and every single day we lived under the threat of nuclear war. Every single day we believed and really thought in the deepest part of our soul that nuclear war could happen at any given moment. And then he stops, and he goes, and somewhere in those years, and he looked me in the eye, he goes, we found a life form. And everything that we did and every decision that we made with that life form was because of the consciousness at that time.
All I know is this. The Virginia incident that Wi-Fi's on about, they just now did that announcement saying, oh, the Virginia, that happened. No shit, it did.
So apparently whatever they were working on that required nuclear power, and plasma is heavily intertwined with nuclear power, they stumbled upon life or an entity they were making decisions with. So again, imagine what they can do today with the power, not just of this high luminosity collider, but with these data centers as well that are also directly connected to plasma. These data centers are under extreme strict NDAs. You'll never find anybody come out and say, I work for a data center, here's my proof, here's what's going on. Maybe a lot of these plasma scientists were taken out, so the true purpose behind these data centers and what they're doing does not get exposed.
Right now. Holy
or perhaps they're working on something big in secret. And it's not just me saying this either. We also had an OpenAI executive say just that they're using these data centers to open up gateways and portals, and he called it very dangerous stuff. We have a couple data centers out there that are oddly enough being powered by cerebrospinal fluid, which is basically blood plasma. Perhaps the AI these data centers are actually for are really for a quote-unquote alien intelligence or an quote-unquote alien invasion. But these things are not aliens, that's the lie. These things are interdimensional. Just like they told us previously, they had a glimpse of that fourth dimensional entity crossing over. Then yesterday, David Grush was on camera saying this.
I certainly don't have the compendium. It's a continuum from corporeal bipedal type life to, you know, what I would consider like sentient plasmoid life, but there are several that the U.S. government is aware of. You know, what I would consider like sentient plasmoid life.
These sentient plasmoids just sound like another name for entities or energetic beings. If one were to look at this through a biblical lens, a biblical aspect, even the word seraphim angels, the word seraphim means to burn or the burning ones. When these scientists were conducting this experiment with this particle accelerator over in New York, colliding these beams of gold nuclei, they said they created this fireball of plasma, and this fireball is what they consider to be this plasmoid. So if certain angels are described to be energetic fiery beings, then that connection to sentient plasmoids or plasma can be made. Even outside of Christianity, even talking about Islam, the jinn, what would be considered Satan's equivalent, was said to be made of a smokeless fire. But going back to the seraphim and angels like them, if that means that the seraphim and angels like them had fallen, which they did, and they are energetic fiery beings, then that must mean that there are fallen ones that are energetic beings. And if brought over here by the powers of these data centers and CERN, things like that, is it possible they could also be given a form through robotics? Given the fact that plasma is formless, I guess it could. So they know exactly what they're dealing with. They know exactly what they have been making decisions and deals with and gaining knowledge from. How many times have we heard them say through interviews, even JD Vance saying that these quote-unquote aliens are demonic, and they're saying this for a reason. They're giving us the truth in plain sight. Even when they say they're interdimensional now.
But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want.
So where is Geordie Rose now ever since making that years-old video? Well, isn't it funny that after being the frontman, the face of D-Wave Quantum Computers, Demon Wave, he now works with embodied robots, meaning he's making robotic bodies that you can put the AI into. These are ritualists through and through, just like the ritualists before them. And not just Geordie Rose, but also think about Trump's Genesis mission as well, which focused on the advancement of AI, but also the rapid acceleration of these data centers. But what was also announced at the same time as this Genesis mission was Jeff Bezos' Project Prometheus, which also has to do about building robotics and putting the AI into these robotics. Prometheus and the Book of Genesis both heavily connect to fallen ones, and knowledge gained from these fallen ones. After this executive order of this Genesis mission went through, data centers were popping up left and right all over the place.
The elite and the government are opening up portals. They're summoning demons, all with AI data centers.
Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but at the same exact time, it makes sense why this guy right here openly stated that AI is summoning the demon.
The artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, you sure you can control the demon? Didn't work out.
And it also makes sense why he also spoke about how the new god is coming from Memphis, Tennessee.
I see. Memphis, the capital of ancient Egypt.
Right. Yeah, you're bringing what?
Perhaps that's where our new god will come from.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, I wish that was funny. Yeah, okay, so I want to talk to you about alignment.
I wish that was funny.
Yeah,
right.
Memphis, Tennessee, where his his Colossus supercomputer dwells. I guess it's just a coincidence that all these names have something to do with ancient pagan deities. As we can see, the Colossus of Rhodes was a massive bronze statue to the Greek sun god Helios. But you don't say. Now, the more you look, the more you're going to find these ancient pagan deity names everywhere, as we can see with Meta's massive multi-gigawatt artificial intelligence data centers named Hyperion and Prometheus. Hyperion is a first-generation titan in Greek mythology, ruling as the god of the heavenly light. And of course, Prometheus is the titan whose name means forethought, revered as the champion and creator of mankind. He is best known for defying Zeus to bring humanity the gift of fire. AKA, Prometheus is Lucifer, where the name Lucifer literally means light bringer or light bearer. And now it's not just the AI data centers using these names, it's also the financial institutions, as we can see with Apollo Global Management. Where go figure, Apollo Global Management is aggressively financing the artificial intelligence boom. And of course, as you know, in ancient Greek religion and mythology, Apollo is one of the Olympian deities. The same exact deity that is painted above Mr. Golden Dawn's head right here. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Nothing to see here. Now, it's not just Apollo Global Management. We also have Blackstone working on a $36 billion deal for Anthropic. And of course, just coincidentally in the occult, the black cube or the black stone is a potent esoteric symbol representing structure, the material world, time, and hidden wisdom. Oh yeah, and of course, it is most prominently associated with the planet Saturn. You know, Saturn or Kronos in Roman mythology, who is known for the Golden Age. Golden Age, you don't say. Where have I heard that before?
Proudly proclaim that the golden age of America is upon us.
Nothing to see here. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The more you look into it, the more you're going to see these names everywhere. It's because we live in a spiritual war right now. Ephesians chapter 6, that we do not wrestle with flesh and blood, but against these principalities in the heavenly realm. Individuals who currently rule over this world at the moment, who are into the occult, worship these deities, these ancient gods of the past, that they use their names to name everything around us, to then give worship to them. It is blatantly in our face everywhere, so it's not surprising to me if the possibility of these AI data centers being used as portals for demons, it could add perfectly into the book of Revelation chapter 9 of Apollyon, the destroyer, the king of the bottomless pit being opened and then demons being released. I wonder if that will have anything to do with the AI data centers and CERN possibly.
The real question is the bottomless pit CERN? Is the bottomless pit Antarctica? Is the bottomless pit Mel's Hole? Is the bottomless pit, you know what I mean? Like,
who knows? It's all speculation with that, obviously, but it's not being lost on me, just seeing the names everywhere, and you can see the spiritual side behind it. So now, with that being said,
that great video came from Matt, or Shepherd from the Messiah, and he made a great connection to how a lot of these major data centers are named after old gods. And there's that CERN connection he sees as well, which is theorized to sit on the Temple of Apollo. But talking about the names of old gods, the name Atlas has been used a lot. And I didn't know, but over at CERN, sits on top of the Large Hadron Collider is a giant particle detector. And this giant particle detector just happens to be named Atlas, or the Atlas experiments. Let's not forget too that data centers are low frequency, low vibrational things as well, given the fact that they emit something called infrasound. It is believed that infrasound is very dangerous to health. This video comes from The Unraveling.
2 years ago, Time magazine sent a reporter to Granbury, Texas. That reporter interviewed about 40 people who lived near a Bitcoin mining facility. And those people were experiencing symptoms that they believed were a result of that facility. The people that he interviewed were experiencing things like migraines, insomnia, vertigo, nausea, anxiety, and hearing loss. He interviewed a 77-year-old pastor who stopped sleeping and lost hearing in both ears and ended up in an emergency room with heart failure after many sleepless nights. Now, the reality is we do not know if the facility actually caused that to happen to those people. correlation is not necessarily causation. But the fact that Time was investigating this as far as 2 years ago is bringing up what is now being reported as increasing concern around low frequency noise. Now, the concerns around this that Time was investigating and that many investigations are now starting to look at is something called ILFN, or infrasound and low frequency noise. These are basically sound frequencies that are on the lower end of the human hearing range, or not even in the human hearing range at all. So in other words, it's being emitted, but you can't actually hear that noise. Now, what we're beginning to sort of try to understand is it looks like the cooling systems on these large data centers actually produce a lot of energy that is in that range. A 2026 study showed that exposure to infrasound raised cortisol levels in participants who did not know that the sound was present. Another research study is looking at cardiovascular effects in chronic low-frequency noise exposure. Now, one of the problems with this is that we measure sound in what is called A-rated decibels, and that is largely based on the human hearing systems. But these systems are producing and emitting energy below what we traditionally measure in how we consider things like industrial buildouts, the sound that is produced by these facilities. So in other words, a facility like this could be saying legally and truthfully that their facility is within the thresholds required by the systems we currently use to measure them. But it's what we are not measuring that candidly we just don't know. And I want to be very clear. A lot of this is just we need more data, we need more research, and we need better tools to measure it. But even while we're trying to get more information about these low frequency and infrasound, we know that some of these facilities are using natural gas turbines to generate power, and those systems can generate noise at 105 decibels. To give you an example, a chainsaw is going to run at like 90 decibels. And while those gas turbines are producing noise, which is measurably problematic, we don't yet know enough about infrasound other than the reports that people believe that it is making them sick, which is why many scientists feel that we have to study this more and that we have to get better tools to understand. Is infrasound making people sick? Well, we don't know, but we have to find out.
We also had news very recently that a Catholic priest, Stephen Rossetti, over in Washington, D.C., was fired, linking UFOs to demons. One of the explanations for this firing is that the Catholic Church has a strict policy against linking science, technology, machines to their religion. But again, at the end of the day, we really don't know what these UFOs are. We don't know if they're technology or even entities. Again, given the fact that we had news articles coming out and Navy reports coming out saying that they were doing just that, creating UFOs out of plasma. But going back to plasmoids, this great video from the Interstellar Discussion shows that they may have been here for a long, long time, and the ancient peoples have encountered them.
UFOs, plasmoids, and their intelligent behaviors. For those of you that may or may not know, a little while ago, you could check a previous video, I went into the fact that plasmoids exhibit intelligent behaviors, and scientists and other researchers in the field are now questioning whether this is a display of intelligent behaviors and some form of sentience, right? The fella sat beside me here is called the Squatter Man, and he's appeared all over the world for thousands and thousands of years from all sorts of different religions and aspects, right? And some archaeologists believe that the motive associated with the aurora phenomenon due to plasma discharge, specifically a Z-pinch instability, right? Check this out. What you're seeing behind me here is an example of where this symbol appears all over the world, right? So all of these areas here are all sorts of different cultures and things where this symbol appears, and then you've got the main Squatter Man here, and then to the left is the actual symbol for a plasma discharge phenomena that happens up in the atmosphere, right? So this kind of goes to say that back in the day, did our ancestors observe such an event where they were absolutely mind blown? They drew this as a representation of what they saw, right? Because it's a man and he's got two orbs around the side, and obviously a lot of this does represent to an extent with the plasmodial and orb activity, where throughout history, again, people have witnessed these strange lights in the sky, and there's paintings of them and all sorts of other different things, which is kind of interesting. Another set of symbols in relation to the plasma sort of entity that we've been experiencing. And so was our ancestors to an extent aware of, you know, scientists are talking about it now, that certain orbs and plasmodial things ejected from the sun can be potentially theoretically a level of consciousness or intelligence. There's some sort of display in nature there, right? And then obviously when we go back throughout history, the amount of cultures that praise the sun and pray down to the sun as a living being thing, like Helios or whatever other things that they pray to the sun for, if plasmoids are an extension of intelligence and consciousness, then that means our sun, by proxy, would mean that this bad boy is conscious and alive. And then where does that end? So if plasma that is being discussed in the field is a interconnectivity and can be aligned for consciousness to travel through, right? Where does this stop in the grand scheme of the cosmos? Are we just in a giant brain right now? Kind of like how mycelium fibers are with mycorrhizal mushrooms in nature that kind of build a symbiotic relationship with a tree, and all the networks connect all into all the other trees and they trade nutrients, information and other things that we are completely unaware of, right? But imagine that on a cosmic scale. All in all, I don't know. It could be just well, it is a great theory, and something that's just kind of been peeking in my brain and trying to relate it into things that we understand on a planetary level rather than an interplanetary level or on a cosmos level. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. I thought it was interesting, so look into it.
One of the very first videos I made on this channel was about a cryptid known as the Static People, and now I'm strongly wondering if these beings have any relation to plasmoids. I'm going to go ahead and play that video now. You are now within seconds of horror because we are going to be talking about cryptids. The reason why I am so into the paranormal, strange, and mysterious happens to be because that's how I grew up. I grew up in a family where they shared stories of how they've been haunted, ghost encounters, and so forth. And a lot of these stories have stuck with me even to this day. One story that I was told when I was young, this was confirmed by all three of my family members, 2 sisters and a brother. They were around the ages of 6, 7, and 8 when this happened. Well, one night they were all sleeping in their rooms, the 2 sisters, and heard their brother scream as loud as he could. All of a sudden, they see him run out of his room, run down the hallway. He proceeded to go into their room, jump right into their bed, and then he hid right under their blanket, yelling, "He's gonna get me, he's gonna get me." Recounting the story, all three then said they heard the bedroom door shut, they look up, and they begin to scream, because standing right there in front of the closed door was this very tall thing. This thing was in the shape of a man. It had a head, shoulders, a torso, legs, but it was very, very tall. And not just that, it was made of complete static that you would see on TV. As all three were huddled together, screaming and crying, staring at this thing, it then proceeded to walk towards their bed, but it had a very strange way of walking. The upper half of its body was very stiff, but the lower half looked as if it was marching. When it marched to the side of their bed, it knelt down, grabbed a hold of their mattress, and started to make a weird noise that all three said they can't replicate to this day. Then it started to violently shake their mattress. Again, all three said it looked like it was made of complete static. It stood straight up, stiff as a board, turned around, and marched right out their room. When it left, it went right through the door. All three suddenly fled into their parents' bedroom. They didn't hear anything. They were fast asleep. I don't know how they did not hear anything, but they said it felt like when they encountered this thing, it felt like they were stuck in time. But the reason why this story has stuck with me to this day happens to be the way all three tell the story. You can tell just by their facial expressions, the fear in their voices. I have absolutely no doubt that they saw this static entity. So flash forward to today, there's a website that I like to go on now and then and read articles that has to do with, the strange, mysterious, paranormal. That website is called mysteriousuniverse.org. As I'm browsing the different articles, I happen to come across this one article back on January 18th, 2020, which is titled "The Bizarre Phenomenon of Static Entities." And I said to myself, I remember hearing something like this years ago. This article starts with, "The world of the paranormal sometimes takes a steep turn off the edge of the weird, offering up new phenomena that do not have any real category. One of these must surely be a collection of accounts linked to a phenomenon I have only recently become aware of. It all revolves around tenuous flickering beings that seem to be made purely of white noise or static, and which seem to pop into this reality to scare and confuse. Here we will look at a selection of reports of a truly new and difficult to categorize area of reports called the static things or static humanoids." Now, I wouldn't say they couldn't be categorized because they could fall under the category of cryptids like shadow people, or if they are there to scare and confuse and cause harm, then I could possibly say even demons. But what's even more interesting, this article continues to say, in many cases, these otherworldly beings seem to be particularly witnessed by children, and according to the very little research that he's found on these strange entities, they seem to almost be drawn to the young. Like I said in the beginning of the video, when my family members saw this static entity, they were around the ages of 6, 7, and 8, and this would be the very last time they would have such an encounter. Now, I also remember seeing a photo online, and it took me forever to find this photo, but this might actually show a static entity right next to a child, and this photo was taken all the way back in the 1980s. This article continues to say they are most often seen by young children, usually from the ages of 3 to 8, or are seen in the proximity of children. One story that this individual found is that of a mother who saw one of these beings watching her infant son in his crib. Another tells of a young boy who went missing in the woods for several days after he followed the quote-unquote fuzzy man. He was eventually found alive and in perfect condition despite having been in the woods for several days. This came as a surprise to everyone who found him. The precise nature of their relationship with children is still unclear, but it continues to appear in these cases. Maybe not all of them are evil. Maybe not all of them have bad intentions, like humans. Some humans have good intentions, some have bad intentions. We don't know. This article mentions a Reddit poster called Nomura 2018 who says this happened to her when she was 8. Quoting Nomura 2018, who said she was sleeping on a lounge, all of a sudden I had a really powerful urge to look at the end of the hallway. We had recently brought a coat stand from a boot sale, and this was in the middle of the hallway now. As I stood there, I saw a human outline, but entirely filled with TV-like static. I remember little bits of yellow and blue in it, but was mainly white, and it came out the bedroom on the left, and was in a running stance, but it was really weird because it was in slow motion, and it ran from the left to the back door on the right. Like I said, these things have a very bizarre way of moving. But anyway, as it ran, it grabbed the coat stand and pulled it down with it, and it fell to the floor. I was just standing there after, in shock and so scared. I ran to my sister and told her what happened, and when we went back to the hallway, the stand was still on the floor. That was the only time I saw it. I don't know why I saw it or why it pulled the stand down. It was all just surreal. I did have some other experiences in that house that were paranormal, so maybe it was connected. This article mentions another story. A similar case comes from a poster called Joshy Bear, again happening in the confines of a home. In this case, the witness, who was a kid at the time, remembers getting up one evening to get a glass of water, after which he went into his parents' room. He doesn't recall why he went into the room, but feels as if he might have been drawn there by something, and that is when he had an odd encounter, he says. He was quoted as saying, "When I walked into their room, no door, I saw on the other side of their bed a huge humanoid shape that looked like it was made of static from a TV, except the white was purple and kind of like when you rub your eyes through your eyelids. I immediately just laid down and went to sleep right there and woke up there in the morning. Don't think I ever told anyone about it until years later. I was 3 or 4, so it's possible it was just my imagination went nuts, but it always stuck with me." Now, while these beings are mainly encountered by children, there are accounts by adults as well. For example, the article mentions an individual that's named Raxo5532. Raxo is quoted as saying, "I don't speak English very well, so I hope you can understand if I misspell. I try to tell you my experience with a static man, but first to enter in context, I am from Mexico, more specifically in a city called Cordoba in the state of Veracruz. I was living in a small house. In my room, I have a television. I have a television from the mid-90s, which does not work. With that said, I will start with my experience. This happened to me 2 weeks ago while it was already dark. At approximately 12 or 1 in the morning, I was asleep when I woke up from a feeling of too much terror, feeling like someone is looking at me I see in my room, looking if something is in my room, when I started to see a human being made of static. I don't know if leaving my television or entering this. I believe he meant that it might have left his television. I fear to get out of my bed and go to the door of my room where I keep a weapon to defend myself in case of an intruder in my house. Meanwhile, I see this thing disappear in a very strange way, like it's made out of smoke. I go to my bed to try to analyze what happened and try to sleep, and this is all my experience with static creatures. But whatever they are, they definitely seem to gravitate more towards the young, more towards children. And there are many commonalities between all of these stories. This article mentions and finishes with an individual who has a very strong interest in these static entities. He has spoken to multiple people, gathered and collected multiple cases. He's quoted as saying, they always manifest as humanoid. They may have exaggerated features such as elongated limbs or inhuman faces, but their overall form is always humanoid. What this signifies is still beyond me, but it is an element that always appears. They aren't malicious. I haven't yet come across a story of them attacking or harming anyone. They scare people very badly and can appear very menacing, but they don't appear to have any malicious intent. This points to another intriguing aspect that I am currently investigating. They are intelligent. I don't know what their intentions are. I don't know if they're good, bad, or in between. But from the story my family members have told, from other stories I have found online outside of this article, they definitely produce some kind of fear, terror, and dread. And those that encounter it, they say that they're in their own space and time with it. That those that do not encounter it, but they're in the same household, they are not awoken or hear the screams and shouts coming from the individuals that do encounter these static entities. But in any case, if you want to hear me talk about more of these obscure cryptids or other paranormal content, please do go ahead and subscribe. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.
I'm going to bed. West Road was from 1973. What the fuck? Good night.